You there?
Hi guys, I'm Inci Mehmet, a former Ladies European Tour golf professional and now a full-time broadcaster on Sky Sports Golf, and I'm here with Working Options.
I was always interested in everything, so I played 4 different instruments, played every sport you can imagine, and it was when I was probably about 11, 12 years old that I really wanted to dedicate my time towards something. I wanted to get really good at something, and for some reason I ended up choosing golf, which is quite strange really. There weren't many female role models for me to look up to, and I didn't grow up watching golf either. There was never really anyone for me to look up to, so in reflection I always find it quite a funny sport to have chosen, but obviously golf has given me so much, and from, I guess, describing how I got here, it's been very much a progressive journey from playing in a county level, and then for England, national squads, and then GBNI, and then I went to tour school, which is essentially a qualifying school, top 20 for instance, that gain their full tour card to earn their status onto the professional scene. So I purely went for experience, ended up making it in that top 20, and then I had a decision to make. And it was one of those things, I think I was 17 or 18 years old. I calculated every single possibility. You know, I had an opportunity to go to school, go to America, do my SATs and get a full scholarship out in the States, which would have meant that I would have to remain being an amateur. But instead, I knew deep down that all I wanted to do and be was a professional golfer. So I ended up accepting my status and I turned pro. And a couple of years ago, so around 2021, decided to pack it in. So I had a handful of years on tour, but it was definitely a roller coaster. But you know, all in all, if it wasn't for all that experience, I wouldn't have been able to do what I do now. There isn't a textbook that shows you how to turn pro. And with my mum's very little knowledge and also not speaking very good English, we were quite limited in a sense. But the most crucial thing for me is having some incredible people around me. So that's where I feel very privileged and lucky, in the sense that I had these pillars, these individuals who were very knowledgeable, who were kind and caring, and had the information that I needed to actually support me. So I think there's an element of the harder you work, the luckier you get. And I worked really hard, and I think people noticed that, therefore they wanted to help. But yeah, I would definitely dedicate my journey to turning pro to these people around me. And one of them's a close family friend of mine, and he's still very much involved in my life. And although he's kind of like a father figure to me, he feels like a life mentor. And I think if anyone could get a mentor, you're very lucky, but it can make such a big difference, whether it's helping you build your confidence, helping you elevate your knowledge and understanding, keeping you interested and motivated, making you feel like you have some sense of responsibility. There's so much that a mentor can offer. So I would say the individuals that surrounded me definitely left that sort of impact. Sponsorship at such a young age is a very difficult thing to tackle. When you're an amateur, you're not allowed sponsorship, you're allowed support. So I guess if you're good enough, or if you achieved something to a certain standard, you'll turn a few heads. And so that support could eventually lead to sponsorship. In terms of a professional way of, I guess, getting your hands on sponsorship, some people have management from a very early age. You know, even from an amateur status, you've got scouters that travel all the way from America or all over the world to try and scout some of the best players that they believe in has potential in the future. So again, I just think you've got to focus on what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve, because the more you focus on the outside noise, the more distracted you'll get. So focus on your task at hand And by all means, if you're on your road to success, people will come, or organizations and companies will back you. So I think it's very much just trying to focus on task at hand rather than hunting for sponsorship. Being an all or nothing person, again, there's pros and cons with that, right? So the pros would be that you give your 100% towards something, no stones left unturned. But the cons and the negative side of the stuff is it almost comes with a perfectionist mindset. And in golf anyway, golf isn't a game of perfect. You could hit a really bad shot, hit a sprinkler head, and it comes back in the middle of the fairway, for example. Equally, you could hit a really bad shot, knock yourself down for it, hits a tree, and it comes back in the middle. So I think there's definitely strengths and weaknesses to throwing the whole kitchen sink at it, because I think at times it's very easy to get in your own way, because if you've given your everything towards something, you expect nothing but the best. And when you're competing against 155 other players for one trophy, in golf anyway, you lose a lot more often than you win. So it's quite challenging accepting that sort of mindset. I wish that I wasn't as hard on myself, and now I've moved on to broadcasting, which is a new chapter and a new challenge. I'm trying to take things that I've learned from my playing experience and put it towards the broadcasting stuff, because I think whether you're in sport, business or education, those three things anyway, you're all striving towards success. So that kind of elitism mind in trying to succeed and having a performance outcome is all the same. So I can very much take what I've learned from playing days to broadcasting. So I'm trying to not be as hard on myself, although I give everything towards it. Yeah, I think when I was playing as an amateur, golf was pretty much my life. It's all I knew. So from a career perspective, I didn't see anything else being another option. And by all means, when it came to moving on and trying to make a decision in hanging my boots as such, it was really frightening, because I felt as though I had nothing else to back myself with. So yeah, it kind of made leaping towards media slightly easier, because I knew that I had the knowledge for golf. But again, it was just quite scary, because I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. Obviously, golf is a sport that I've chosen, that I've dedicated a lot of my time towards, but I feel as though the sport itself is so relatable with life, for example. So, for instance, let's say the ball's landed and it's on some like murky, mucky lie. There's so many different ways to play it. Same with life, maybe you're not in the best situational circumstances, but there's so many decisions to make and so many different roads, or you could go down or doors to open, you've got choices, hopefully. And if you don't, that's where attitude can kick in, because that can definitely open some more doors. But I guess the point that I'm trying to make is there's not just one way of barging through a door. I think the way you approach a situation and the decision that you end up making could be life-changing. It's amazing people you speak to and they said, because of this one decision I made, or that one turning that I've made, it's resulted to this. So you never know what's around the corner. But yeah, I would just say, I don't think there's just one way to find your dream job. Sometimes you'll have to do what you don't want to do to get to where you want to. I think networking is key, making sure that you've got great people around you, trying to be a people's person. Not that you have to be, but I think when you get on with people and the environment, it's much more beneficial. And just making yourself heard, whether it's continuously trying to do something so it gets seen. A photographer once came up to me and said, "Hey, I've never shot golf before, can I shoot some photos for you?" I said, absolutely. So because he didn't have that golfy background, it was nothing like what I was used to. It was much more creative through a different angle, and colour schemes, and it was very creative in that sense. So that's a good example of someone who's never done something before, wanting to get to the same sort of spot, taking a slightly different route to normal. So yeah, I just don't think there's just one way. Obviously, education is really important, going to school and getting your degrees that you want, but it's not always the way. You know, I left school when I was 17, 18, and I think if I had kids, I don't know if you should keep this in, but I think if I had kids in the future and they said, hey, I really want to do this and this is what I want to become, I would encourage them 1,000,000% just to give everything. If it doesn't work out, as long as they've worked really hard and trying to achieve it, they'll meet other people along the way that can maybe result in something else. So maybe don't keep that in there. I don't know.